Hey guys, it's Synth here. I'm going to give you guys a tutorial of the ambient tune I made for the Audio 6 album. The tune's called Pacemaker. I tried to use some sort of like storytelling methods throughout the song, I guess, or tune, whatever you want to call it. Guess it's kind of like a 5-minute journey almost. So I'm going to try and break down each component of the track. There's quite a lot of things going on. Another thing I should mention, I've lowered all the settings of my my ACO stuff, and I've had to use voice meter to record both my voice and the audio from my DAW separately. So that's probably going to change the sound very slightly. Hopefully not too much. And the main reason I did this is obviously to save on CPU so it doesn't stutter and crackle all the time, because I've had to go through multiple iterations of changing the buffer settings and stuff like that. So I'll just give you a quick look at the settings I've actually had to change it to. So I had to turn off that, change that from 24 point sync to 16, and I think I lowered the PPQ, the time base, to 24. Normally I use 96, and then normally if I'm like making really detailed projects and it's not like heavy on CPU, I use 960, which is like obviously 10 times more zoom capacity. So right now it's on 24, so I guess you have what you're seeing right now is actually 4 times less of the amount of zoom capacity that you'd normally see. Just as a, I know, what's it called, a side note, I guess. Anyway, the tune. So what I actually used was, I think it was a harp sample, and what I did with it was used a program called Pore Stretch, and this allows you to, what's it called, hyper stretch samples to like super long periods of time. So the sample that I originally used was from some like a 60s, like a, I don't know, some 60s what's it called, soul like harp sample player, and what I did was basically stretch the song to about a day, I think, or something like that, something ridiculously long, bounced down to a WAV, and then I've chopped the hell out of it, and then I applied a mixing chain on it to alleviate some of the problems EQ wise and just in general, like sound design wise. Obviously it sounds a bit dry when it's on its own. I just need to find it. My mixer's kind of ugly, so it's going to be a bit of a nuisance. Oh, there it is. So I began by monoing the low end. So I used a new gen monoizer, 0 latency instead of linear phase. I could have probably used a linear phase when if I'm not using the, what's it called, voice meter, but there you go. So I've just taken out all of the lows stereo wise, so that should help with the mix down, obviously. Then I've used TRX compressor, just did a basic amount of compression, quite a long release, especially long release actually, and quite a long attack actually considering the sample length, but that will make a lot of sense in a minute. I've turned the input drive down and the output up only a small amount, and I've turned off the sidechain high pass filter as much as I could, obviously. Then I've got an EQ here, so this is the thing that gets this part doesn't get automated just yet, but the purpose of this is just to, I guess, reinforce the low end a little bit and do a little, I don't know, a small cut on the 3 band, which is like the low mids. So that's like about 300 hertz. There's not any drums going on or anything, obviously, so it's kind of hard for me to like say the specific processes, what they're enhancing, whatever. I guess it's just a wall of noise to some degree. Then I also have what's it called, fusion field here. So this is like the main bread and butter of the sample. So what I've done here is extended the low end of the sample. I've cut off the low end of the sample up to 650 hertz. So you don't get any wishy-washy low end. That was the whole point of the mono filter. So I'm trying to keep to that rule of keeping the low end mono as much as possible for the main sample anyway. I've got a high cut all the way up to the maximum it can possibly be, which is 22,000. No zero high damp, which means it goes on as long as it can, basically. And low damp again is on 0, so that's going on for as long as it can. Basically, if you imagine this to be like a room, if you increase the low damp or the high damp, it decreases like the tail basically of the high and low end. So I kept them at low, so I kept them at 0, so it goes on forever, basically, the main sample. I also have a small amount of attack here, even though it doesn't really look like a lot here. Normally it looks a lot different, the curve that you get from a normal preset for this, but I guess you can see where I'm going with that. I don't know if I can undo that. because I don't know if the attack is going to drastically change the sound. Okay, that's fine. I've actually, normally the dry is set to 0 dB, which is like the maximum, but I've actually turned that down, and the wet is normally about a third, and I've turned that up a little bit, and all of these are on max basically, so I wanted the sound to like last for a super long amount of time. The reason I used this plugin was because it introduces a stereo field, so this normal sample has some stereo field, so if I play it on its own, so obviously on its own it doesn't make a lot of sense, but with all of these plugins on, I'll describe Guitar Rig in a second. Yeah, so obviously it sounds really dry. So introducing the fusion field, it adds a lot of the stereo field, and adds a lot of the kind of glittering like fluctuations in the sound, I guess, because obviously it's reacting to the frequency as it dips up and down. And because I'm using a stretch sample and then adding reverb onto it again, like it's kind of a weird process, so I thought I'd try it, and it sounded really awesome. This is like something I've never really done before. The second EQ I used, this is the one that actually gets automated, so this 4-band is a band pass, and it basically gets automated from about like low bass to treble. I know they're kind of arbitrary readings, but I guess you could read the frequencies in the top left hand side if you want to know the actual frequencies I went up and down from, and that basically happens, I think it's this one. So this one actually moves up and down. So I kind of created movements from this main sample by increasing and decreasing the bandpass, and obviously it happens after the fusion field reverb. So that's why you get that kind of movement, I guess. I actually did this part at the end, but 2, 5, and 6 are actually just cuts because they were really like annoying in the frequency spectrum. They were quite poking to the ear, so I actually did that right at the end of the mix. Finally, we have a Guitar Rig, which is the second part of like creating the amazing sound, and I actually used a preset. Hopefully my whole FL doesn't crash while this is loading. Okay, it's fine. Hopefully it will load. Okay, so what I'm using here is I turn on right, because left is normally the only one that's turned on. Put it to about halfway, put the gate up slightly, I think. I don't know if that's the actual default setting. Put the limit to 100%, and I can't remember what the actual preset was called, but oh no, there it's Etherblops, and it should be a default one, and I basically manipulated I think all 4 of these parameters through automation, to give it the vowely sound. So I think this one is the one that introduces the wowie flutter, because it adds like one of these thingies adds like a harmonic resonating thingy. I can't really describe it. I guess I'll try and show you it on its own. So when it's wet, shall I say, it sounds like this. I have to press stop a bunch of times because obviously the release is like I'm sorry, not the release, the reverb is like going on and on. If I turn off Guitar Rig, you'll hear it sound a lot drier. It sounds more like a classic ambient. And obviously this adds the harmonics, and as I said before, these are all automated. So these two automate I think one of the Con Control 1, which I'm assuming is probably the center frequency. So that's getting manipulated, and then as well as that, it's playing into this. So they're kind of working against each other. So the song actually begins off with the wow vowely thing going on at the start. So you can obviously hear the difference between that with the setting and without the setting. Obviously this whole like sample is like nearly the whole song almost. So it's kind of important to, I guess, understand like the kind of process I took, even though I guess my mixer and stuff is kind of messy, but that's the process I took. So basically monoing, compression, EQing out just to smooth it out, reverb, which is like the big step in terms of sound design, super long, basically as long as I could with the tail and stuff, but kept the low end clean. EQ2 was this one was for the actual what's it called, bandpass movement, which is like the main part of the ambient kind of evolution kind of stuff going on in the track, and the guitar rig, which is actually being automated from 0, and then it gets automated in and out based on if I want that resonating effect to come in and out again. So as you can see, it happens multiple times in the track, so it happens there, and so on. The second bit I had, which was this part, is the Dulcitone. So I used a Kontakt library, I think it's called Magic Box. The dual music box, sorry. And what I actually did was I actually turned the tune down by 24, which is like 3 octaves and a bit. And well, I don't know if actually if 8 is 1 in this one. I can't remember. And the reason I did that is because obviously, like, it gives it like a really nice timbral sound in the low end, especially. So if you're playing low keys, it gives it that kind of cool resonancy sound. And obviously, if I played the same key with a normal tuning, it sounds completely different. So I thought that was like a really cool idea. I've done this a lot in a lot of my previous works, just playing with the tuning basically, and then trying to play the normal chords that you normally play, because obviously you're offset straight off the bat, so you get some cool sounds. And obviously when you're pitch bending, especially with their Kontakt's engine, it's really smooth, so you get a really nice result. I actually turned the random up a little bit, and I think what this does, I'm not 100% on this, is it changes the sample selection. If you probably look in here, you can see which samples are being played. So I bet there's probably a different set of samples when the random thingy changes. So if it hits a specific number, let's say an odd and even, so an odd number would play a specific sample and an even number will play a specific sample, and it's just whatever the random number generator picks. I have all 3 layers on, and I've got one layer which is an octave down, and that's turned down a little bit. And I think I left all these settings the same, and I don't think I added any post-processing. So the only post-processing I added in the effects was probably just EQ to clean up the low end at 55 Hertz. And I use a steep 8 curve, which is like a curve that goes down basically all the way. I think it's -18 actually. It's not all the way. So that's that, and that's basically going on throughout the track as well. So that's being automated with volume automation. So this one is automating the volume. So and that's going on basically throughout the track. It's blending in and out. I guess that was kind of like the consistency layer, because I wanted to kind of make sure, kind of give the listener like a repeated feeling that they're listening to something. I don't know, it's kind of giving it a really bad explanation, but that consistent theme is always there, and it's in the high end, and I know it's just a bell, it's not really like a representative of much, but it's that, like, I don't know, that back of your mind, you can tell it's still there, even though it's not really playing any specific notes or chords that are like harmonious, but I guess overall that I've obviously reused some patterns, so you do get that kind of feeling. So that's like the 2 main parts, I guess, for the top part of the track. Then the rest of it is like a bunch of like crazy effects that I did later on. So I obviously used a lot of sounds for like natural sounds, and then I've processed some heavily, and I've made some of my own using synths in the past, or my own sample library. So I guess the next chunk, I've kind of made this song in chunks, would be this part, which is the oceans and the dolphins and stuff. So I'll just turn off the thingy. So that would be this, and it's obviously turned down like super loads, wherever it is. There it is. So it's these 2, and I don't know if these 2, I think one of them's been automated, by just volume automation, which is pretty simple. It starts off low, it goes down a bit, you know, so on. And I've just got the pattern alternating twice. That's a pretty simple layer, I guess. And then I've got these layers here. I'm going to go from like top to bottom, I guess, because that's kind of how I wrote the track. I've just got some basic chimes going on here. They're probably, I think they're just EQ'd. Yep, just EQ'd a little bit. Oh no, there's nothing even on the EQ. I don't know. I guess it's got super sampling going on. I don't I don't know why I did that. There's nothing even on that one. And I think I've just got volume automation going on a little bit. The second one that happens has there's a down chime sweep on this one and then up chime sweep on this one. So I guess it's a little bit of significance between like that if you're going with the story, I guess. So this one goes up, and this one actually pans from left to right and has a bit of volume automation as well. The next chunk of stuff is, I guess, this little ping sound that I found. I thought I added reverb to it, but I guess I just used the actual sample itself. I think I pitched it up slightly. I think it's a lot lower pitch. So there's that. Then this stuff is kind of cool. So I made like a load of bass sounds. They actually sound completely different on their own. So if I find them, it's going to be under personal. Yeah, so I used a bunch of sounds like this, for example. Some of them are like from my Neuro collection, so they're kind of aggressive, but I guess you can kind of tame the beast just by using reverb and EQ selectively and volume automation. So I basically added a bunch of these, stretched them out quite a significant amount, and then EQ'd them and added, you know, some post-processing. So for example, here I've got EQ going on here, took out all the low end and added reverb, and it's probably it's turned down to like 25% or something, so it's really quiet in the mix overall. But as you can see, like the difference is huge in comparison to the samples I just shown you, like in terms of like the spaciness it adds. So, and I basically EQ'd them all in different kind of respects. I don't know, I can't remember where the actual sample is for this one, but or maybe they're all under 79. I'm not actually sure. Okay, they're all under 79. So these three all have the same mixing chain, but some other samples I have different mixing chains, like these ones down here. They're using different bass samples, and there's a lot of different things going on with those, but I'll explain that in a second. The next, there's volume automation on these as well. Anyway, the next thing I did was used impulse sample. So you can, I think this was part of a pack, but I've actually made one of these myself. Basically, I took the Indian drum, which is a doubler, and I basically just I've got my own pair of doublers, and I actually just hit it once. I'm using a MXL 770 microphone. MXL 990 microphone, and I basically recorded just a sample hit, and then used what's it called? I think it was Liquid Sonic's Reverberate 2, which is the convolution reverb. And I did a mixture of that and Fruity Convolver, which allows you to use impulse samples for reverb. And I used a super long ambient hall sample, and I basically got these cool samples out, and I think I've just stretched them and tidied them up a little bit on the EQ, and made sure that they're like uniform lengths, that they're all 29 seconds, and it just sounds like this. And I've also got panning and volume automation going on, so they pan from left to right as the song goes on. So it's kind of, it happens throughout the track in a continuous motion. So that's a pretty cool sound. You can definitely tell it's from like a doubler hit. So I thought that was really awesome that I used some sort of impulse tone like that, and the tone like slowly changes as well, which is cool. So that's that part, and that just goes on throughout the whole track, like I said. This part's a bit more complicated, so I'm using the same bass samples as before. Basically, you can use like any of these. I don't know if you want to have a quick look at all these synths, but I think the main ones I use like Citrus and Silent. These two are like the beasts in terms of like bass production and stuff. Well, I think Citrus is better, to be honest, but that's a whole other discussion, because that's like a whole like how to make these patches and stuff. But I guess you could do this with any sample, which is like the kind of premise of like what I'm trying to show you, like what is possible with just like, if you have a few samples from a sample pack, if you just manipulate them slightly, you can achieve a sound similar to this if you use the same mixing chain, I guess. Well, some sort of reverb and some sort of like moving EQ is like the main two things that I've used as tools. So in this one, just solo these three. So I'm pretty sure these are all separate ones. So 4. Yeah, these are all separate ones, as you can see on the mixer, and they're all basically, what I've done is made a sub mix. So if you can see here, if I look at any of these 6 or 7 channels, you can see that they're all routed to the bass reverb master. So all of these have their own specific EQ on them, and then they're all routed. So all you have to do is like, if you want to make a submix in FL, you can you click on the one that you want to be submixed, and then the one that you're sending it to, and then you right click on the little the arrow icon, and then you put route to this track only. So it's basically going from 48, or any of these are going, so in this example, 48 to the bass reverb master, and the bass reverb master is getting sent to the master icon. So as you can see, like they're all being routed to this. So if I look at any of these, pretty much all of them are being routed to the master, except for the submixes. On the submix, I've got a Fusion Field, and that's doing something completely different in terms of reverb to the main sample. In this one, the dry samples as it is, a bit of increase on the wet, and I added a lot of attack and delay as well, because I thought the delay added something really cool. It adds like it basically mimics the sound, but with the reverb. It's basically like how you'd expect delay to work. It's really, really cool. So on bass samples, you can make cool soundscapes with that, with just a bit of reverb. And I've got a bandpass here, as you can see, moving through the sample, and that's this is just like a vowel-y movement, quite sharp. I basically just trial and errored this, and kept doing the same thing over and over, like kept replaying this part, so one like that, and then just kept messing around with the sample till the thingy, till I got it, the envelope. This is done like for every single sample except for this one. So stuff like that, and then so I thought that was pretty cool. So I kind of did it like almost like a recipe. So I started off with the main sample, and then moved down and added the Droney samples. I think I was kind of probably over inspired by the forum thread when it was talking about the I guess it can be from the examples that I heard from the forum post. It kind of inspired me from that alone. I kind of maybe took the words too literally, but I guess it's no right or wrong. So anyway. So yeah, so that's these layers. Basically, I've just repeated the same process for any different samples. I chopped them up, and then obviously placed them in different positions where I felt that they fit, basically. This part is really cool. So this is a granulized version. So using Fruity Granulizer, I basically put the impulse sample from the double I hit, and I made it like 25 seconds long, or is that 25? No, it's not seconds, it's a bar, sorry. And I automated a bunch of parameters within Fruity Granulizer. So if I can find it, it might be this one. Nope. I think I did name them all, but got no idea where this one actually is. I guess if I look on pattern 5, I could find it. There it is. So Fruity Granulizer, going into a bunch of different post effects. So we've got Devasta, which is distortion plugin by D16, amazing. So I used the Acid Popular 2, which is just a preset. I don't actually normally use presets for Devasta or nearly any synth, to be honest, but I think I did heavily mod this one. So basically, it's basically a multiband distortion unit, as it says there, and what I normally do is do low pass, band pass, and then a high pass. So you're separating the whole spectrum into 3 different uniform bands, and then I then start modifying the cutoff and stuff. I don't normally change the resonance hardly ever, or the pre-post. I always leave it in post. I always leave the FX in 100%. This part is like more for really harsh distortion, so I don't normally change the shape and use the clipping part of this unless I'm making like really hard basses. So I guess that was probably done for some of the bass sounds that I already made. But for this one, I think it was just a bit of harmonic saturation I wanted. I could have probably used Redopter, which is another one of D16's plugins, but this one I felt suited better. Then I used Guitar Rig again, and this is another preset called Pondy Pad. Don't ask me about the names. And this one is doing some sort of, I think it's probably linked to the step sequencer with the wah wah, so you get some cool sounds from there. And I think I manipulated this pattern slightly. I can't remember. I did this quite a while ago for this section anyway. Yeah, so that's just that. I don't think I did that too much to this one. I think I just turned on right again like you normally do. And I used Anthrasol, which is a D16's I think newest plugin, and it's a stereo flanger. It's flipping amazing. It's so powerful. Like it sounds like super nice. And I basically, the sound that I was originally I didn't really have like a goal when I was trying to create this sound, but it made like an aeroplane sound, which is really cool. So like a really airy thingy sound. So I basically modulated a bunch of these parameters. Most of them I think are from Free Granulizer. So that one, these two are Guitar Rig, and that one's just the volume. So yeah, I'll just play this sample. Oh, sorry, play this sound and see what you think of it. Kind of really reminded me of like an airplane, like taking off or in the distance, in the clouds. And the stereo, what's it called? Amazingness comes from Anthrasol. So if I turn that off, it's nowhere near as nice. It kind of tames it actually. I didn't realize how much it tamed it in comparison. So that's that. That goes on twice throughout the track. It goes on at the start and then during like the second drop, if you want to call it that. That's not really a drop, but I guess just for convention's sake I'll call it that. So that's really cool. I was trying to create a sound like this, but I guess it wasn't really guided. I wanted to make some sort of like white noise riser, but it didn't turn out how I intended, but it kind of came out better, to be honest, because it kind of fit the theme of the story. The second chunk of this stuff, I think this goes on for quite a while. So oh yeah, this is the clock. Sorry, not the clock sound. The lock sound. So this is really cool. What I did was I think I did volume automation, panning automation for the this clock winding sound, and then the clock winding sound is here. So what I tried to do was in my mind try to think of like how would you design like opening a lock for something in kind of like a mystical sense. So what I did was this part's just normal like sound design stuff, like doing the panning. I kind of really wanted to emphasize the panning, so it feels like a whole stereo experience, like almost like you're in a movie. I don't know what I'm going to say next, so I guess I'll just play this part of it, and I guess we're to see. So if I turn on all these. So basically one of them is the locking turning mechanism, and one of them is like fiddling around with the lock. So I was trying to like really emulate, like if you were at a door or whatever and you were trying to unlock it, and it had a padlock or whatever, like how would you go about, what sounds would you hear if you were fiddling around with it, I guess the important part here is just noticing the spaces between the actual fiddling around with the lock and playing with the what's it called, the clock, the clock sound. I guess it's called clock winding, but it is actually just a turning mechanism. I can't remember where I got this sample from, and yeah, so you can notice the silence there. And a thing to notice is I have cut off cut itself, which is a feature in FL, which if a sample plays again at a different or same distance, not distance. If it plays the sample twice, it will play the second sample only. So it cuts off the first sample if they're both playing at the same time. So that's not turned on for the lock sample, if I can find it. The list is pretty long, so there it is. So it's not turned on. So as you can see here, there's overlap between the samples, and it's not being cut off. And it's the same with the clock winding sample as well. So I think I actually stretched this sample out quite a lot, and then yeah, that's how I ended up with that. And I made sure that the last sample of this, which was the wind down sound, so it's like when you've almost got the lock unlocked, is like the slow part. So on its own, well, you can't really hear much because of the volume automation, but it's basically like just when you're basically finished with the lock, so you're about to remove the key or something, and then this part is heavily modulated with a reverb to get this cool sound. Because I kind of really wanted to emphasize unlocking the door, or whatever the thing is, whatever the object is. Got another bass sound here, which is actually really cool. This is it kind of fed back into the original idea I had for the what's it called, the impulse granulized sound. So what I actually did with this was stretch a bass sample out super loads, and what this was a bass riser. It was like what I did was I used a normal bass patch, or I think it was just a sub from Silent, and I used Classic Flanger, which is just a flanging plugin. I think it's free download. The whole pack is a free download, if I can find it there. And I basically modulated the depth and the feedback, I think, and it made a really, really like cool sound. It's almost like the Haas effect. It's really cool. And basically automated the pitch of this sample, so it goes up basically as it goes along, and it kind of fit really well. And I automated a bunch of parameters again, so there's panning changes that are quite sharp, and then sometimes quite slow. But I always end at 50%, so you know it's central in the stereo field at the end. And there's whenever there's usually some sort of sharp stereo change, I try to blend it a little bit with reverb. So I use Fusion Field again, and then you can see there's like a huge reverb change at the end as well. And there's also bass volume automation and dry gain for the Fusion Field. So if I look at the sample, if I can find the name of it, Bass 81, there it is. So 56. So it was EQ first, so that was probably just a clean out. There was probably one annoying frequency there, so I took that out. Low cut, well not low cut, but low shelf, and I boosted the 4, which is high, and that's like about 2,500 hertz. And then added a vocodec, which is kind of unconventional for like this kind of sound, but I guess it fit. And I don't think all I did was increase the bands to 100 and turn off the attack and release, because I didn't want there to be any of that. I don't know if I modulated anything else. I think I did an experiment before where I tried it with the I think it was the band distribution and the offset. So you're basically making it so there's a lot less vocoding information in the low end. So you get one chunky band here, and then you get a bunch of striated bands towards the end of the vocodecs. Third process was another Antrasol, so I guess it kind of fit with the other's sample. And then the Fusion Field was that part was actually, this part is being modulated, so the dry and wet are both being modulated. I normally never modulate the dry, so that's kind of a cool thing to do. So yeah, you can kind of see how it fits in with the whole intro, like kind of almost like something taken off, almost like a plane or ship or something, whatever. Next we've got some just some basic wind howling. This is just another sample. I think you can find a bunch of these samples or similar ones to these, because I've sampled quite a lot of these myself from Freesound. Which is just a site where you can, as long as you reference, well, it depends on the person who uploads the sample, but sometimes you have to ask for permission or whatever, or so just make sure you find out before you use any of these samples. This is just a wind howl sample with volume automation, so pretty basic, nothing like too complicated or super special going on there. The next part is the what's it called, the door opening sound, which is like, that took a lot of work. You can see there's like a bunch of layers going on here, so I kind of went OTT with the sound design. I thought I'd just give myself a test to see if I could realistically create that kind of sound. So there's a lot of, let me just do this because I know there's a little stuff going on here. There's a bunch of layers. I try and find this. I try and get this in isolation, and then we can go from there. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I think my favorite part is actually this part, because I've never done something this ambitious in terms of like pure sound design, using so many different layers and like a lot of different stages of mix down and stuff. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff involved. So the first part is this industrial door opening. So I think this was definitely off Freesound. Just type in that industrial door or something and you'll probably find this exact sample. But I manipulated the volume, I think, just for this, and I think I cut off. I did I just chopped off the tail because it goes on for ages, this sample, and then just did a volume automation to 0. I kind of reinforced 52, bar 52, with this transient here, and that's where the sound actually starts. So that's the door opening sound for that, which is quite mechanical and I guess sterile in comparison to the rest of the sounds. So it's kind of got that mechanical like valve opening the door, whatever. So that happens at the start, and then we've got the clock winding sample. So it's kind of trying to relate to the first time that happens previously in the in the song. And then we have the tree branch stuff. So I've got a bunch of different tree samples. There's probably a lot more actually going on here. Just turn on all these. Oh, yep. So this was another submix, I'm pretty sure. So there's probably a bunch of tree branch stuff all going along here. If I just play this. Yeah, so there's a tree branch master. So this one is actually compressed using a Pro C2, which is a FabFilter's newest compressor, and I've set a Hardney 100%, 100 ratio, so 100 to 1, so it's doing really harsh compression. Threshold of -23, I guess. Auto release turned on, and a small amount of attack. I guess the attack is probably the biggest component here, and the release, I guess. It's not parallel. It's not like New York compressed or parallel compressed or anything. No hold. Yeah, so that, I guess you can see the waveform here. So I just basically looked visually and then adjusted the threshold based on where I thought the average transient was, and then you can see the gain reduction going on here. It's quite small, but I think it raises the overall noise level, I think, as you can see. So that's that. And then I think there is a lot more information going on here. There's an automation on the submix, so the whole thing is actually being brought up and down volume wise. And then we have the rock samples that happen after the branches. So this is like the second layer, the secondary layer of the sound design. So this is like the actual door opening and closing sound. So I did a lot of stereo work on this to try and make it fit. So it starts off at 50%, it goes up to 75%, or I hope it is, no, 90%, okay. So the same thing happens here. So first of all, I think the door opens to the right hand side. Let me just I'm pretty sure one of these automation clips is not turned on, which is why it doesn't sound so heavy, because in the actual song it sounds really heavy. It's probably these. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's these. So as you can see, there's loads more like branch snapping and like all this other stuff, and they're all like panned in specific directions. So I think in this instance I did a 10% panning to the right, and then 10% panning to the left. So 50% is the neutral position or center. As you can see there, it says 50, and then it goes to 60. So I made sure it's always like calculated for every sample. So I think this one is that's like the whole master sample. The whole master submix is being panned left and right, and then I've done some individual ones by I think 10% or 15% of there. So 50%. I guess that's wrong actually. That should be 35%, but it still sounded fine. I probably just left it like that. And this one is 50% to 65%, and then that's 35%. So you can see like I've basically this whole shift here for the first half of this section is going to the right hand side, and then the second part is going to the left hand side. So I was trying to really like create that stereo field, and you can see there's some more volume envelopes going on here to really reinforce the sound of it opening in one part of the door closing and another part of the door opening. Sorry. You can see here it's like going pretty right, and I think I've added touches of reverb in some of them, very small amounts. There's one for example. Whenever you see Fusion Field, it's just reverb. So that was that whole chunk. I was really happy with that. And then we've got after that happens, we've got some footsteps, and some stairs. Some stair tapping noises from when you're walking down some stairs. So I thought that'd be really cool to add as part of the story, I guess. I kind of don't want to say the story though, because I don't want to ruin the experience by giving people a preconception of what the sound is supposed to be. But I guess I can write up at some point. But anyway, this footstep sample is like this. So we've got the main stair sample going on here, and that's got I think I did a bunch of obviously did a bunch of chops to these, and this chop looks out, but it's because I'm using a low PPQ, a low time base, so there isn't actually a transient going on here. I definitely make sure of that. It's only because I'm using low settings that you can see that visual artifact. Basically stairs, I think there's a touch of reverb, and I think maybe a bit of compression as well. If I can find out where there it is, stairs echo. So I've got reverb, and I think I just cleaned the sample up a bit with EQ. And then I also did a load of stereo work on it as well. So it's layered, so you start off with just the stairs layer with a volume automation and the panning, as I was going on about, quite sharp. So I was trying to make sure it started whenever the sample started. You can see the differences like there. It's always on point basically. And then I layered it with some footsteps in the snow. So this is another sample of Freesound, I'm pretty sure. And that's just like the ruffling sound. And that's also panned as well, as you can see. It has a volume automation too. And I think there might be another one here. Yeah, there's another one down here. So it's all of them together like kind of reinforce the sound of like you walking down into something. And then I've got like the fire crackle sound, so you can imagine like you're underground somewhere, and it's like you're using like natural like light, from like a burning ember or like a torch or something, And then there's like panning information here. So this fire crackle is being panned a bunch, and there's volume automation too. And then I also used this is just random. It sounded cool though. This is just resonating glass, and I stretched the hell out of it and chopped it up into small sections here. It's probably inaudible in the whole track when the whole track's playing on its own. And I think we have one of the second biggest chunk, I guess, which is the what's it called? The whole like the second key, which is this whole chunk here. This is like a whole bunch of samples I used, and they're all slightly offset. I don't know if I'll try and show it as best as I can, which sounds like this. Oh, these two sounds as well. So my original idea was just to have this valves in a box sound, which is someone like rustling some valves basically in a box. It does what it says on the tin, I guess. So that's just this part. Someone just doing that, and then I decided to have like another another kind of event where there's like a key sound. So, but this one was a lot more complicated. So I started off with this really harsh layer, which is the slap one layer, which is just it's just a really harsh slapping sound. I need to turn on the volume automation for you to hear this. And that's got like a really, really sharp transient. As you can see, it's like brick wall to 0, the sample. I've not normalized it or anything. And I basically offset that from the main transient at 79, the 79th bar. And then I've also got a metal impacting sound. Got to turn on the thing again. That one's a bit more, I guess, springy in comparison to the first slap sound. And then we've got a glass clinging sound. That's offset as well. And then I think the main one is the gate opening sound, which is like hitting a padlock or something, and like, you know, the rumbling sound it makes when it hits against wood or whatever it's attached to. Then we've got another glass resonance sound, although this one's barely audible. This was just for like a bit of tonal quality. And then I actually made a patch in Silent, and I think it's basically just a sawtooth wave and some I think a sine wave or something, and I think I put the sine wave to 8 polyphony. I guess I can find out actually if I look at pattern 13. I'd probably be able to see it somewhere. There it is. Oh no, four voices. Okay, so there's 4 voices, 2 for a what's it called, a square saw. I can't remember what it actually is. I forgot the name. Well, I don't know the name, but I know what it does. Yeah, so I put all those together, and they're all slightly offset, and this gives like the what's it called, harmonic tone, as I was talking about before. Kind of like a success noise from like a, I don't know, like a Mario game or something, but it's got like a lot of reverb and stuff on it, and it's really, really low in the mix, but when all put together it sounds really nice. And then again I got the clock winding sound, but this one stretched even more than the previous ones that I've used, and yeah, when it all put together it made that sound. And then I basically added reverse glass, which is basically someone sweeping up glass, reversed that, and then did some automation I think on it, but then bounced it out. And then I did use the normal glass sound, but a different section of it. So yeah, that's that. And then I got a really cool sound of someone buzzing, like snapping 2 magnets together, and then it creates that cool like buzz sound. So I'll keep forgetting to turn on the master. So that's cool. And then there's like coin slots, which is a kind of it's almost the same as the glass kind of sound, like in terms of what it's trying to fill in the spectrum, but this is a little bit different, I guess. It kind of fits. It has a different what's it called, sound when it's reversed. So when they're all put together, it makes that cool sound. And then we have the air pressure valves. So this is a sample that I found myself, and I basically got like the pre part of the air pressure valve. So you're introduced to the sound, and then there's like this huge pumping sound, and there's a bit of quite a bit of panning actually. So that's going to the right, and then it's going to the left, I think. It kind of reminded me of like something taking off again, even though that's not really part of the story. But yeah, I really like the energy that was pushing out, and it's obviously because it's natural white noise, it sounds a lot better in terms of like its overall sound. I don't know, for a sound design it's a lot nicer to use. And then we've got this huge chunk of like automations and stuff here. This was I think this may have been another resampled thing, but I'll try and be quick with this example because there's a lot of things going on here. Basically I think it's another I'm pretty sure it is another bass sample that I've of my own sample, which is, and then I think I granulized it, so that's why you can see this long line here. It's probably a C5 that I used, the note C5, if I can find it. Okay, there's two layers actually. So there is that granulized layer, that's C5, and then there's a silent layer, which is probably just adding some high end. Yeah, so I made this patch myself. There's white noise going on here. That octave thing is really useless. It doesn't do anything. I put the pan to the left in this instance for both of them, or all 4 of them actually. That's the first part, I guess. I guess you can see the octaves here for the actual ones that matter. So the square wave with 7 voices, 2 octaves, detuned quite a lot. Full stereo on both. Full stereo on these 2, 1 voice. No detuning or anything. and then we've got a bandpass filter, and I think the cutoff is being automated for the input of BA. And then I added a bit of a pitch and panning automation for the decay, so that adds it adds like a sharp transient sound. It's kind of like a basic 808 production, like adding a bit of pitch modulation to the decay. And then we have phase changing and cutoff changing for here for the envelope 2, and that's just on the decay again, a small amount. This is all to taste. Like, I think that one you probably really need to get that sharp sound, that pitching sound, and same with the cutoff. But the phasing probably doesn't really do that much. It's probably really minute, the sound difference it makes. And then we've got both of these LFOs on 3 at different rates, because I kind of wanted to get that like inter LFO rate thing going on. It's basically like really crappy FM, I guess. With a mix AB 100%. I think that's it pretty. I guess the rest of it's self-explanatory. 100% cut off as well, so the rate is like completely sweeping the cut off from like 0 to 100, and then pan AB as well, so there's a bit of panning going on with the LFO. And then there's a little bit of reverb and EQ on it, or probably heavy EQ on that, yeah, taking out all the high end and stuff. So yeah, and then I'm actually modulating the actual speed of the LFO that I've used for the automation clip, so it speeds up. So you probably see this, you can see this curve changing. You can like hear the reverb going up, the volume going up, the LFO rate's obviously going up, and the offset as well. Cut off, like I said, was going up. It's probably by a really small amount. Yeah, it's quite small. We've got the pitch automation going up, which is why you can hear it going up. And then I manually drew in the panning envelope changes. So I thought for like it starts off with it being on every bar, and then it's every half a bar, and then every quarter of a bar, and it's kind of uniform in shape and stuff. And again, it always ends on 50%, so it's back in the central field by the time it finishes. As you can see here, there's like a little clip here of it neutralizing again, because when you're doing this kind of automation, it can leave the panning in one direction or the other, so you never get it forced back to center. So this little clip here is to force the panning envelope back to center after doing a crazy automation like that. And that's that sound. That's pretty long. Got another Windhouse sample, which is the same as the other one, I think. Just different volume automation and panning, I think. And then got the scuba diving stuff sound. Well, that's before that. There's a little bit of a different sound here. We'll just look at how long this is going on for. It's probably pretty long. All right, it's like an hour or something. Sorry about that. I probably poorly explained like half of this, but I was kind of too excited to show you guys like how I made it. So if you guys do have any questions, like just obviously hit me up. You know, kind of losing my voice as well. Anyway, that water sound is let me have a look. It is a white noise layer, so I'm pretty sure this is just a very de facto basic synth patch. Just white noise again. Oh no, okay, this is actually tonal in this case. Or maybe I'm looking at the wrong patch. Yes, I am. Let's have a look again. Yep, yeah, it's just white noise, and I think it's just the cutoff has been automated. So if you look, yep, you can see the cutoff being automated. So that is mixed in. You can see the volume automation. It's coming in and out. That's mixed in with a binaural sampled what's it called? Water pour, which is basically just someone pouring water into like a beaker or something. But binaural just means that it's recorded from two separate locations, relatively close to the actual event happening. So you can get binaural mics, by the way, like 2 in 1 basically. So that's really cool. So it's a combination of an actual sample and just white noise. So that's really cool. And then we have the I guess the character in the story, like falling, which is that's what the white noise represents, like him moving through the air, and then he splashes into the water again. So there's the initial splash here, and then we've got what's it called? Volume automations for the scuba gear binaural sound. So there's one binaural sound here and just a normal underwater sample. So they're sharply automated up to 52% and 45%. I think they're pretty arbitrary numbers. I think they just sounded nice. And then we have a low pass filter on these scuba diving samples, which is just automating down. Oh, it's not that one. It's here it is. So you can see it moving down. So I kind of wanted to give the feeling that you're going heavily underwater, like that you're getting more submerged, so you're hearing less high frequencies, which is the reason behind that automation. I guess there's not that much left. Yeah, so we've got the seagull sample, which just comes in, a bit of reverb on it, which is down here. There we go. More glass resonance sounds again, and I think we've got the reintroduction of the thingy sound, the rotary sound, I guess, the aeroplane taking off sound again. And I think I added a small little water drop soon, which is I think to signify this, I used a volume automation on the actual main sample, just like something I don't recommend like you normally do, because it's kind of detractive, I guess, but I felt like doing just a really small automation. I think it's only doing like what, 5% or something, which is like not that much, but it gives it a little bit of breathing space for this water drop sample to have more volume, so which happens here. And it's like super long reverb. I'm again using Fusion Field. I don't want to show you guys again because it's the same thing, just super long reverb. I mean, I could show you the preset, but like there's not really much point because it's all to taste and it's all to ear, so like you have to hear if it sounds correct or not. Plus I've already shown you guys before, so you're probably sick of seeing it. And then we've got 3 different PC sounds. I sampled these myself. Well, I sampled I think 2 of them. One of them isn't mine. One of them is from Freesound. Basically, this is quite dangerous. I don't really recommend you do this, but if you've got a PC or whatever, and you've got like an open case, put your microphone quite close to the CPU when it's starting up, whatever. And obviously be very, very careful, because if there's any like magnetic components or whatever, it could damage either your microphone or your CPU. So you're probably better off just getting the samples off the internet. I just did this because I have an old laptop and I was just like, screw it, I don't really care if it dies or not. So yeah, so I think this one is the you can hear like the flipping old ass hard drive going off on one, and I think this is stretched quite a bit actually. So that's that, and then we've got another one going on. So I basically align the transients of that one with the second one, and there's just a bit of separate information going on here. That one's got like a disc read sound, and then the third one, which I think is from Freesound, is like I think it's a Wii starting up. It's relatively further away than microphone wise than the other 2 samples, but I guess all 3 of them together like made a really cool sound, so I kind of laid them out like that. So that's that, and then we've got me breathing in. So I just sampled myself breathing in a bunch of different times at different pitches, and it gave it that sound that you'll hear in a second. So that's that. Yeah, the different pitches are really cool, so I think there are some... Gotta keep stopping that. Yeah, so I actually tried to breathe in at different pitches, which I thought was really cool, to try and give myself like that kind of a choir sound, or a more complete spectrum when you're breathing in, because obviously if you're breathing at the same tone all the time and you use multiple of these samples, it's just going to sound like a mess, because obviously you're not trying to occupy all, the whole frequency, so the whole spectrum, sorry. So I did that in a whole different bunch of pitches, and did panning automation and volume automation to give it that kind of a stereo effect. And again, obviously it ends at 50% again, so it's neutral in the field by the time it ends. And yeah, that's that part. And then I think it's just the same part for me breathing out, which occurs like a bit below here. Yeah, so there's 2 of these. Same thing with the panning envelope, and we got the heartbeat sample going on as well, which I think this was from Freesound, but I did volume automation on this, and I did a panning automation as well, which is really subtle. It's just by it goes from 50% to 60 and then drops down again for every heartbeat, and obviously it's kind of uniform because the person wasn't like fat or whatever or doing exercise, so I just basically moved them around to the center point, so you get a bit of a very subtle amount of left-right panning on the heartbeat sample as it fades out. And the final bit is just volume automation on the end. So I've got the master volume automation just going down, so that's just this dropping to 0, and just before it ends it goes to like 1% because I'm using reverb. If I zero it out, it just sounds really weird and dead and dry, so I did a very small tail, so the reverb had a little chance to like breathe naturally before it went out completely, before the actual whole sample ends, which is like here. And that's the whole track. I'm sorry if my explanation was pretty poor, but yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. And yeah, hopefully I'll be doing some more of these in the future, like track breakdowns. If you want to know any specific information as well, like tell me. But yeah, that was that, and hopefully I'll be able to adjust these settings a bit more, because as I said, I'm using a voice meter, as you can see here, to do all the recording, so I'm not using any post-processing on my vocals, so they may sound a bit lame, like compression wise or whatever. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, just leave any comments like I said, and peace out.